Hello everybody, welcome to another video. It's NoodleDog and I've been gone for a couple of weeks. It's been about 3 or so weeks since my last video, and there's a pretty good reason for that. I've been wrapping up school. I think as of recording, I'll actually have not even a full week of school. I'll be going through my last 3 days of school in the next couple of weeks. And along with school comes a lot of homework, a lot of other things, especially in my particular field, a lot of art. A lot of things you got to catch up on, finishing classes that don't really matter to you, but I digress. I've been gone because I've been doing a lot of project work and I've been doing a lot of things to keep myself busy. The coronavirus, has been pretty tough and on people, and doing videos, especially when you have classwork and it's all at home, it's kind of strange. You don't necessarily enjoy it, but you do what you can. And so, as a result, I've been busy. I haven't been able to do art block videos, but I will be doing more of those soon because school will be out in a couple of weeks. I have finals to worry about, and after that, I should be good to go. But I decided I'd talk about one of the main reasons why I haven't been making any videos, and it's because I've been working on a project. Now, I don't think I've said anything about it. Well, I probably have, but if you watch my podcast, then you actually might know about this, but I've been working on a project called, it's called The Mental Check. It is a comic, and it's for a class, the graphic novels and social justice class. I decided to take on the topic of depression and anxiety because I felt that was something that was close to me. And one of the things that definitely spurred me on to doing this was because this is my senior year. This is my last year to make anything as far as, art school wise, not art school wise, but undergrad wise. It's my last time to draw something and make something that's impressionable. Part of that is making use of your time and making a final project that you might be proud of personally. And today I'm going to be showing you that, and I'm going to be going through a little bit of my process and thought process behind everything because it was pretty important to me. I thought it was something that I personally loved, and I thought that I could share with you all, and I could share with you the concept, and I can kind of go through a couple of pages or maybe all the pages real quick and kind of skim through them, and I could show you what went on, what took me so long to make everything. So it's been about a month. And I had to go through a lot of mental processes before I started everything. I'm not a big person when it comes to scripts. I write, but I'm not a big fan of scripts because sometimes they tend to limit you and they sometimes tend to hurt you. However, scripts can be really good if you want to learn how to get things going as far as, one person or one character. And while I didn't really necessarily start with a script, I definitely started with character design. And I designed this character here. Concept name is K. He's based off of myself, and I thought it was kind of cool to kind of think about what kind of things do I interpret myself in. And while I have a persona, you see him in all my videos, this character was a little bit different. It feels a little bit more personal because the character has a little bit more of my personality, a little bit more feeling, I guess. Some of my anxieties, some of my fears, things like that. Some of the things that was downtrodden. Initially, you could see he's in a work uniform. Initially, that was because it was supposed to take place in a work setting, and it was supposed to be a breakdown there. But I decided I'd kind of go in an ambiguous approach, and I kind of work from there. This is just some concept sketches that I actually worked on. But I'll be showing you, along with everything, will be the finished pieces as far as the comic goes, and explain a little bit about them as I go through them. So these are some sketches that I did, some work that I worked on. I took some inspiration from Zootopia. Why not? Because it's pretty cool. I like that art style. And it was simple enough to kind of be recognizable and still be, I guess in its own way, kind of iconic. You could kind of see it and be like, oh, it looks similar to this. And it's nice to pay homage to something, It doesn't have to always be, stealing an art form. But definitely if you admire something, you could play a riff on it and definitely use it to your advantage. And that's what I kind of did. Still making it your own, though, definitely helps too. And so, going to the first page, I don't really have the, going on here? Well, I do have it. Here is the cover page, Mental Check, and it's a graphic work by myself, and I spent a whole month on it, maybe a little bit more than that. It took a lot of time to actually work on it, and I'm going to go straight to the first page. I'm going to skip this right here because this is actually a full PDF. Actually, it might actually work out in my favor. Actually, I'll use this. So, basically what's going on in the general concept, this is an open-ended and ambiguous series of pieces, because it's not exactly meant for you to have a definitive thing, but it does have some solid points and some concrete objectives for you to actually look at. when you look at the first page, you definitely see that there's a blankness, and in the center of it all is oneself. It doesn't necessarily have to be myself. It could be you, or how you might perceive yourself, or how somebody else might perceive themselves. And it's for me, at least, as far as when I look at it, my thought process was, of course, going with the abstract, shaping the things that shape your mind and your subconscious. And that's kind of what I played off on, the things that you care about and love and keep you going. They're sometimes subconsciously make you happy, and they give you reason even if you can't find reason within them. For example, you're going to see a little bit later that I enjoy convenience stores. Something simple, but it's something that I enjoyed, and I put it into the comic because it has a little bit of myself in it. As the universe, the mental aspect of everything expands, you see things like thoughts, hopes, dreams, love, hate, fear, pain, despair, and all kinds of things like that, and emotions and dreams. And at the center of it, of your subconscious, is the island that you call your rock, right? It's something that you bear a little bit on, and this is what you anchor yourself to. And you have the character opening their eyes, and his eyes, and he sees a crystalline city out in the distance, and out of sheer curiosity and out of sheer desire, sometimes your dreams, your desires, you reach out for them and you run to them at full speed. You want to try to make that first step, but sometimes there is a pitfall. There is a crack in the plan. Sometimes there is more than a crack, and it's just a huge mistake, huge big mistake. And sometimes that can ensnare you. It can grab at you and it can pull you down. And it does pull you down. And when it pulls you down, it's heavy. It weighs you down and it brings you down to your lowest point. And sometimes that can be, desperate. It can make you feel scared or afraid, or it can make you feel lonely, things like that. And the void, for me at the very least, is what that would represent. It will represent, being pulled into a void where you can't escape those feelings, or it's really hard to escape how you feel about things. It just happens that way. Sorry. I've got a snake on my arm. He's just kind of curled up on my bicep, and he's doing all right, but he's been flexing. I don't know what's going on with him. I guess he wants to check my gains. You good? Cool. All right. And so, as you descend, sometimes you see, sometimes you fixate on the things that make you happy, the light in the end of the tunnel, maybe, or maybe it's the light in the darkness. And sometimes you have to reach out for it, You reach out for it, you grab it, and you hold on to it with all your might as you descend into a pit of darkness. Sometimes that happens, and it's understandable. I mean, sometimes you can't always combat the darkness. Sometimes you cave in a little bit, and that happens, And then you open your eyes, and you find yourself in a place that you've never been in. Probably, you probably don't know this realm. It might be something that's, unfamiliar territory. It might be different. It might be, unique. And sometimes you don't have a whole lot going on. So this scene in particular, I made because you sometimes have to, this one in particular actually kind of rings true for a setup in particular, but sometimes you definitely use money sometimes as a way to cure happiness, or make happiness. You buy things to make yourself happy, and that doesn't last all the time. The wallet is supposed to symbolize something along that line. It's supposed to be, the light sometimes that you grab onto may not be fully beneficial. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. And, as you walk along a path of this unknown area that you don't know, sometimes you see the things, or you feel the things, coming up to you, and it might be scary. It might be scary, and you don't know how to deal with it. And sometimes it might just be nothing. But is it ever really nothing? Is it something? You don't know. And so you might run, and it might follow you. Your demons tend to follow you where you go. And at the very least, when I was making this comic, that was the whole kind of theme. As you go around, you have, pits of anxiety where things scare you. You start to wonder, are things happening? Do you know if this is real or not? And you eventually you might find a bastion of sanctity, or a bastion of hope. And it's strange to me. I mean, it might be strange to somebody else, but looking at this, convenience stores are a thing that I'm really into, and it's kind of modeled after a convenience store I went to when I went out of country. But kind of walk in, they've got things, all these different things that are just all over the place. They're new, they're unique, you don't know anything about them, but you want to get them. You're interested in all of it. And you might walk in, you might be a little bit uneasy as you go in, but you see these things that you might actually enjoy and you might actually have, a connection with. Some of these things that are, truly enjoyable, and you might actually find peace in that and solace in a temporary void, or not a temporary void, but a temporary space. It's safe, it's happy, and you find yourself at ease for a little while at least. And that's what our character is experiencing here. And this is your bastion. Personally, when I made this page, it kind of made me happy because I like convenience stores. They're bright, they're full of life, and I like the freezer section. Yeah, I know, we know, you've seen my videos, I love the freezer section. But it was also a way to have autonomy, to be able to choose the things that you like, to be able to look at something and say, I want that for myself, and so you take it. And it's interesting because, sometimes you take something and you don't know, maybe it might be the right thing, or maybe it might be the wrong thing, or even then, it may not be the right thing that you're fixating on. Maybe it's the fact that you're putting your things into material when you should be looking for other things. Stuff like that. This comic, for the most part, has just a whole bunch of stuff that you can take in and out of context, I guess. But for the most part, this is how I would see it and how I thought about it. And you might take something completely different out of it. And in this particular scene here, we look at the fact that there's nobody in this world. There isn't anybody in the world. Nobody's inhabiting this place. It's just the character and his dark and most innermost, deepest fears and thoughts. And sometimes that's how it feels when you're around, or you're trying to work through, you're trying to be happy. Sometimes it's small things that make you happy, but overall, it's just a moment. And sometimes it doesn't make you feel as good as you do. And sometimes you bottle up those emotions and they're waiting to be tipped out. And sometimes it gets darker and it gets darker and you don't know. Sometimes it clogs up. And when you look in, you see something looking back at you. And sometimes it's your deepest and most evil and most terrifying desires or feelings. And they lash out. They lash out in a way that you wouldn't expect. And when they do, they tend to, be far more pressurized than you might expect. And this is, a very superfluous thing. Is something that wouldn't actually happen in real life. I mean, obviously, but I guess in a sense, the figurative nature of it is something that's a little bit, something that's a little bit more, figurative, as it were. And, sometimes you can't necessarily handle all this stuff by yourself as, the thing, as your innermost, darkest, deepest, most negative desires kind of overtake you. You become fearless. Well, you become fearful, paralyzed. You become worried. It hurts. It physically hurts. It rains down on you, and the most you could do is try to run away. But as you could see, it's all over the place. It can't necessarily be stopped. And as you try to, reach out for help, you try to yearn out, you try to call out to people, but sometimes that isn't enough. Sometimes you feel as if people won't help you. Sometimes it's people can't help you. And as you go through, you start to feel that no one's there for you and you don't matter, and you probably never have. Now, don't take that seriously as far as, yourself. If you feel these emotions, of course, definitely, try to talk to somebody and reach out. It's hard. I understand that. I mean, I understand it completely. And if it is hard, sometimes it's hard for people to recognize the things, but if you see people that are upset, it's certainly something to do to be able to at least look at them and say, hey, are you all right? And sometimes that's just the most important part of, being there for somebody who might be going through something. And especially in times like this where it's been very tough, sometimes you have to tell people that sometimes they do matter, and sometimes that's the most important thing that you can do for somebody sometimes, And then, in this particular scene, you see the darkness slashes out and it pins you. It pins you in a corner, and it makes you sink. It breaks you, and it sinks you down deeper into your subconscious until it's at its darkest points. Everything is, everything is kind of weighing you down, and it gets you to the point where you're as low as you can get. You're getting lower and lower and lower and lower, and the things that you love and the light that you once had, doesn't help anymore until there's nothing but that darkness. Personally, out of all the pieces in this particular comic, I like this one a lot because I had this particular scene for a long amount of time in my head, and I wanted to incorporate it somehow, and I felt this was the way to do it because this is how I feel about my emotions. And recently, there's been a big push to finish this comic because that's how it's been, and this was how I felt within the past couple of days trying to finish this comic. And there was a lot of things going on, but this was definitely how I felt as I went through everything. And the thing just made sense. Everything overall just made sense. It made sense to feel scared and worried, and to feel as if sometimes the only thing there is the darkness that is consuming you, and making you as upset and weak as you might be. And weak is the term I'm using because I'm referring to myself, of course, but somebody might take it differently. And at the end, sometimes you feel like you can't escape, and that you can't fight it, and that it'll rule your life, and that's nothing you could do. And sometimes it feels that way, and then sometimes you feel like you could possibly struggle back, fight back. And the character we see do such a thing. He manages to grab out one last little bit of life, squeeze out one little bit of light that he has left, and it turns into a knife. And from here, well, we have a scene where it says, "You won't rule me. You want me so badly, then I'll take you with me." And, take it for what you will. At this point, the end of the comic, we don't know. Well, this is ambiguous, open-ended. Do what you feel, how you feel about the comic. But it could simply be a way out by freeing yourself from that darkness and fighting back. Or it could be something completely different. And from there, the comic fades into white. And we have end scene where we have the final piece here. And it's, it's right here. So that's the comic. The whole comic, of course, is to try to, it's a social justice issue that I feel personally connected to. And it was something that I felt personally, in tune with as I went through the phase of making this whole thing. And from production and from conceptualization to production to finishing, it was definitely a whole lot that was very difficult. And being finished with it, looking back at it retrospectively, I'm proud of it. I really am. And I'm happy to share it with everybody. And maybe it might be something that can be shared with other people, and people can get a sense of what they feel and how they feel about it. This is on my Patreon. It's free, and I'm actually going to post a link on in either a pinned comment or in the description down below. I'd really appreciate it if you went to my Patreon, gave it a look, and if you wanted to, read it, put a comment down in the comments below here and tell me what you thought. If you liked it, or if you didn't like it, if you feel like it brings up some issues that you feel are personal, or if you feel like you can criticize it, that's fine too. I'm always looking for criticism, but this was what I've been working on for the past couple of weeks, and this is what's been taking my time for the most part. My hands are sore. I've been working on this forever, and I was very happy to finish it and to get all these feelings out. Sometimes working helps, pull this stuff out of your head and helps you conceptualize it, and helps make you feel a little bit better, at least in my opinion. And it definitely did help. I feel a little bit better. I'll have to continue to get better. And as I make more videos, as I make more projects, I'll definitely be able to share them with you. I'll try to do process videos, but this was a little bit of a surprise. I didn't expect to do this like this, but there's the mental check comic. I'm going to post this in the description. Please give it a look and tell me what you think about it in the comments down below, or maybe on my Patreon if you want to do that too. I definitely would appreciate all thoughts and everything. If you like this video, consider subscribing and consider liking the video and sharing it with somebody. Maybe it might help somebody else. And tell me what you think about this, and I would really be happy to, talk about it at some point, maybe on a stream or something like that if you're interested. But with that being said, this was the project that I've been working on for a while. I'm happy that you guys can finally see it, and I'm going to end the video here. Take care of yourselves, everybody, and I want you all to have a good day/night. It's NoodleDog. Peace.